So
Okay.
you are good to go.
Okay. So little bit about my background, guys. I got started in insurance when I was 20, over at FFL. So I was going to school to be a full-time nurse. That was what I wanted to do. My heart set since I was super young. The reason I got my insurance license was I thought I was going to be in an environment that would allow me to help people with their insurance. That's what I was thinking. I could be a nurse. This kind of go hand in hand. Never thought that this would be my primary source of income or this is what I would do for the rest of my life. So got my license at another company. It was great because I got my license, but I wasn't really a system that I was comfortable with. It was like the friends and family, and I'm a very shy person, so that model was just not going to work for me. So when I found FFL, I was super enticed. I was like, hey, like it doesn't matter how many people you know, this is like a system. Like, and I was like, I was pretty good in school. I understand A, B equals C, and that's what I liked about it is if you told me how many leads to buy, if you told me how many appointments to run, I was going to be able to get whatever amount that I wanted to sell that month. So that was super easy for me to understand. And that's what attracted me to the business was I didn't have to go bug people. Basically, like the only realistic way to get 30 appointments every single week, like clockwork, is going to have a predictable business model. And for that, it was leads. And that was super easy to understand. It was awesome because I didn't feel like I needed to go create my own leads, go figure out a marketing strategy. Like everything was just done for us here. So, like, very quickly, as soon as I realized that, guys, it took me a long time to be full time in the business. Truth be told, I was here for like 9 months and I didn't do really anything. Like, I mean, I did and I didn't. I was still working, at my restaurant. I was still going to school and I was selling insurance part time. But that part time income was enough to like bug me and be like, okay, like what if you actually did 40 hours a week in this business? And it took me a little bit until I kind of like had that realization and I decided to bet on myself, guys. I went full time. I quit my other job and my first, real month that I did I did protected 20 families. And then after that, I never went backwards. Like it was 20, then 30, 40, 50, 60, etc. Like it just kind of was like a video game for me. And I'm very grateful that I did because it was scary. Everybody around me was like, you're crazy. What are you going to do? And now looking back, I couldn't imagine like where I would be in my life. Like this truly changed my entire life, my future and everything. So like I still 100% believe this is the best business model that you could guys can get into. Whatever your goals are, if it's to take care of your family, to buy that new house, to change the trajectory of where you want your kids to go to school. I mean, what I love about this business is it doesn't matter who hired you, where you come from. It's whoever puts in the most work, you write your own checks here. So that's basically kind of why I'm just all rabid about life insurance still 5, 6 years later, here we are today.
Well, and I think it's cool because you are balancing a lot on your plate between like school, restaurant. Am I going to be a nurse forever? Slinging a little bit of insurance part-time. So I think the fact that you were having like just enough success where you were like, God damn it, I want to figure out if I can like do this or not. That's the best itch to ever have. And it's not an overnight thing for everybody. I think the part-time, it's hard for me to love starting people part-time, even though I know it's important because your part-time calendar, if you don't run it like a planned adult schedule, part-time for you might mean 6 hours, but part-time for actual people should be probably 20 to 30, which I know might sound crazy, but if you're going to find out if you can do it or not, you're never going to find out in 6 hours. I promise. Never going to do that. So let's go and use, we skipped through a lot of the frustrations and the hard work that goes with, hey, I'm 23, sell my business. 24 maybe. Yeah, 24 you said. So that middle ground, this was a topic I was just discussing the other day about like how do I truly find my balance, which is it's such a hard question because everyone's in a different space. And you and Josh didn't look for immediate balance right out of the gate. So go through when we were running everywhere. Like, what did that look like for you from a schedule standpoint, from an hours commitment? Like, what was that like?
So honestly, Easton, like weekends, I mean, we didn't know what weekends were. It was just another work day for us. And that was something me and Josh, when we got started, it was like a commitment that we said, like, we wanted things. We wanted to go get married. We wanted to go do all these things, take the trips, but we knew what we wanted out of this. Like we were gonna have to get unbalanced for a little bit, for a small period of time, to then be able to have, a little bit more balance later. So like we worked 6 days a week and we both were selling. So we both were making our appointments, both, we were both out. Like we never saw each other. It was just, we were still not virtual. So we were like out seeing people before, right? So it was a constant grind, I would say, honestly, for like 2 years, maybe 2.5, 3, of just that was what it was for some time. And looking back, I don't regret one bit of it, because now, and I use this as perspective, like the house that we thought we wanted, for example, when we were first getting into insurance, is not the house we want now. And if we would have gotten these expensive things that we wanted when we were first getting started, it would look completely different than what it looks like now. So I always tell people, kind of like, use what you want as like your goal, but like hang tight a little bit. Like if your schedule allows you to like hang tight, like yes, you can take the trips, but like in moderation. Like your primary focus while you're building is just like build this thing, because eventually you will be able to help people. Like you're not going to be, stuck working on the computer 12 to 14 hours a day, right? Like it's only going to be for a certain time, and then it just gets better. It's like you look around and you're like, holy crap, like when did this blow up so big? And it just came from like that all it was just a grind. Like it was literally a grind. But now it's like, we do have weekends, it's not as crazy the weekend as how it used to be. And we get to enjoy these things because we sacrificed, a lot in the first building, in the couple of years when we were building.
Yeah, which it's so funny when you think about short versus long-term sacrifice. So two big things, and then I'll tangent slightly on that. So don't look up too soon. I think that's what you guys did a really good job of, is you were just like head down, and then even while, because you guys probably spent an additional 6 to 12 months with your head down when you didn't necessarily, like, things were good. Like things were like you were in a good enough place where you could have just breathed a little bit, and then you're like, okay, another 6 to 12 months, and then we can have the like let's breathe conversation, because our business will be in a more sustainable place, instead of getting it just to where it's enough that you can let off and then sitting there. It's so hard to re-pick up momentum, and you
Yes.
guys did a really good job of like, we have so much steam and we're like, the build is going so well, we can't afford to lose it because it is so hard to get back. And then you guys staying calm, and this is other thing that I think we're very similar on, is you were very chill on the like, we need to buy all this shit stuff. I think that there's a time in your life for that. I'm not saying that you are actively executing that now. I'm saying early is not the time to acquire things that are a net loss, as an example. How did you guys have a conversation before, like, hey, theoretically, if this shit gets crazy, are we going to be, can we just hang tight for long enough? Or did you have to like have this battle, like, I really want this thing? Like, how was that? Because that's like one of the hardest things when you first start, if you start making 20 grand a month for the first time ever, and nobody in your family's ever done it, and you're like, I can do X. How did you guys not do that early and just kill yourselves on like personal bills?
So, Easton, one thing is we never changed our lifestyle, because we always acted like this is way too good to be true. Like this could all cancel tomorrow and we could be broke, like we could have nothing. So like we literally got a business bank account, and it was all like we saw it like that. Like this is the house's money. This is not Alondra's money. This doesn't belong to us, right? We had the same bills that we had that we got started in the business. We didn't go get cars, nothing like that, because it was just kind of like feed the business. Now, when it came to business expenses, the house had the money to be able to reinvest and reinvest and reinvest. And like, honestly, like probably like until we would do our taxes, then I was like, okay, I can breathe again. Okay, we get to keep this, a little bit of this money. Let's put it away and then start again a new year. And that's kind of how we managed, honestly, like our finances. I don't feel like um that, just that fear of like this could all disappear tomorrow is what kept us like every day we're back at zero. And literally like there'd be times like where we'd be like, okay, I really want to get, I don't know, this bag. Like there wasn't really a lot of things that we wanted to get, but it's like, okay, if we wanted some type of jewelry or whatever, like it was okay, you have to, if you write more than 60,000 that month or 60 families that you protect, you know, if you beat your goal, then you can go buy yourself that thing. So like I would literally make a hard goal for myself and then I would reward it, because then it would be like, okay, cool, like I earned this thing, got it done. It, you know, it satisfied that little bug that you had. That's it. Like, let's keep it moving. And that's just kind of what we did. And I literally, I don't know, like we're so simple people, Easton, like we did not go ball out and get cards, like nothing like that. It just didn't, for us, it was just not a priority. It was just like we knew we wanted our house. We knew if you want a house, you need a lot of years of tax returns. So it was just kind of like that was what we focused on.
Kept big picture, big vision.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Um, okay, so let's get into some details on the selling stuff. So I'm assuming that you were unbelievably good at selling immediately.
No, 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 no. I still remember my first appointment. My heart was like pumping out of my chest. Like I was like, and it's just crazy to see how the more you do, the more appointments, the more people you sit with, it becomes second nature. And when you don't see yourself like as a salesperson and you genuinely are just like, hey, I'm there to help the family, it helps the nerves and your people will read right through it. They'll know if you're genuine, if you're not, if you want to help them or not.
So you got pretty good at disconnecting yourself like emotionally from the sale. The nerves are really hard to beat, I would say, especially early when you have a little pressure. Pressure is good. They say pressure is a privilege. Pressure is also an extremely not privilege when you're super broke and like panicking. It's like this is actually like a not fun kind of pressure, but it's a necessity to thrive. So in your sales process, however in depth you want to get, or like, hey, when I figured this piece out of my top down, this is what made a difference. Can you kind of run us through how you were taking clients and maybe some changes that you made in your actual sales process?
Yeah. So one thing that really helped me is just having the more volume of applications. I would immediately notice, just without even just the simple math of like my weeks that I would have 20 appointments compared to 30 appointments, I was just getting more shots on goal. It wasn't because I was necessarily better that week or not. It was just I had more shots on goal. At the beginning when I first started, guys, I was very quick to like, I wouldn't pressure my clients. I would be like, hey, well, let me know, think about it. I can come back, or here's my business card. And when I stopped doing that and I started carrying just my demeanor of there when I'm, you know, it's the doctor patient role. You know, I would get to the end and, you know, be like, okay, well, I need to think about it. Okay, well, Bob and Mary, do you remember when I first sat down and I told you guys my job, I see about 20 families a day. They don't pay me again to come back and see you. Or, you know, we're only allowed to help you once. So you either got to sign or decline, and I have to close your file, or we can submit an application and then we can see if you're going to be able to get approved. Once I started saying that, I was so nervous to say that because I was like, what if they just tell you no, or, you know, that's like done. Realistically, it's very hard for someone to call you back once you get them off the phone or call you back once you leave their house. It is just very hard. Like you kind of only get one shot to get both of them on the phone, both of them in the house, because then it's like you're chasing them, and that's not a good business model. So when I started taking that action, it was like, well, I don't want to close my file. Was like, you know, I still want this. And it was like, hey, okay, perfect. Let's start off, see if you're going to get an application. If you're going to get approved, we'll submit your application, and it'll be on something that, you know, budget wise, you're comfortable with. If they come back and they approve you and you're like, hey, I thought about it some more and we want to go up, we can always do that. But let's just start off with something that we're comfortable with. So then we are able to add more later and not kind of go backwards. And that little tip, guys, like I mean, I was closing much more. I was closing people that I didn't even think. I was like, oh, I need to think about it. Or, oh, call me back later. Or, oh, can you come back tomorrow? You know, and that it just helped when when you have a full schedule. It's really hard if you're just by yourself to follow up with people and get them back on the books or get them on the phone again. And that was one thing that definitely really helped me, is just changing my position in the home with them.
Well, the sign or decline thing is funny because in your mind, you're like, well, what if they opt to decline? They already are. They're literally telling you no now. That's why they said, I need to think about it. We're going to talk about it. I got to call this person. They're already telling you no. So you're like, okay, remember in the beginning when we did this and we said this and this was the goal and this was the plan. And then downselling it to the minimum, same thing. Literally changed my entire like sales career. Once I found out that like, oh, we can just get them to start with something that's easy and still helpful, and then with room to opt to move up instead of, especially on the mortgage protection, like that screwed me up a lot where they're like, I need all of it or nothing. I'm like, what do you mean? If you can't afford all of it, why are you doing zero then? I'm confused. So like, why don't we get you in for part instead of the entire thing? That minimum approach, we try to like bleed into everybody in our entire group because that is the biggest way to ensure you're still getting people helped because they still have a need. You're not, this is not a rate driving job. I'm not trying to see how much I can squeeze out of every appointment. That's not good for your business either. And then they still get to have insurance without over purchasing even, and you have to be even more careful if you do a good job with the why, which I'll have you talk about that next. I don't know if you were a brief why person or you're like, I need tiers in every house because I tried that for a while. It didn't go super great. So when you're approaching that like why section, because that's what I get asked a lot, like how do you figure out what they want, why they need it? Like good questions to ask. Go through that.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people I know will do like rapport, and they got it. And I was guilty of this. They think that you have to build up this report and ask them all these questions about what their family is. And I kind of stopped doing that because I realized sometimes I was making more of a friend rather than them seeing like a professional that's going to be there to help their families. So one thing that really helped me is just like I took charge from the very beginning and I did my rapport building while I was asking the financial questions. And all I'm trying to do during the financial inventory, where you're asking them, what's your monthly income like? What are your bills? Like you're breaking down, you're just trying to paint a picture. And that's how I would kind of talk to them, right? So, like, for example, one thing that I always like to ask is, Bob, if you don't come home tomorrow, what does that look like for Mary? Kind of what's the plan? What do we have going on? And, maybe sometimes I'd get Mary to answer. I'm like, Mary, hang on. Like he's gone. What are we doing now? And that's all you're trying to do, because a lot of the times they think about it with the appointment, but sometimes like that's what's going to really seal the deal when you're able to try to get them to be in that moment. Like, okay, like, yeah, now I have a house, my husband's gone. How much money is coming in? What am I going to do? We don't own the house. We just rent. Okay, so what are we going to do? Where are we going to put all this stuff? How long is it going to take? Do we have kids that are coming into town to help bury? Who's going to help with all the final expenses that we're going to have? And then one thing that I really like to do when I present the three options, the money, when you're deciding on the three coverages amounts, I like to say check. So, Bob, do you want, Mary to receive the $30,000 check that you're going to be saving $100 a month, the $25,000 check that you're going to be saving $85 a month, or do you want her to receive the $15,000 check when you're not longer here for $60 a month? And when you say it like that, it just kind of, it's not making it so like transactional. It's more you're building that rapport. It's like, oh, Mary's, and you're listing the beneficiary and the check and the amount that's going to be coming when they are no longer here. I feel like just those little tweaks that I've said in my presentation has just helped solidify more the deal. And it's when we get down to picking an option, it's not how much, it's literally, okay, I want that one.
I like the listing like, hey, which one would you prefer them to have? And you're almost like, hey, which one do you want, which is enough money for like Mary to have when you pass it, you would like her to have that, is manageable for you guys every month. And you're like tying it back into this, like what's good for the budget, how much you want her to have. So it's a little bit more impactful than like, hey, can you afford the $100 or do you want to do less? Like, hey, Alondra, if you're gone and Josh is trying to figure his life out without you, impossible. Which one of these amounts is enough? And it's never enough, but which one's affordable? And I think that strategy towards your presentation makes sense why you're able to have a lot of 70K months. Let me ask you about post-sale stuff. Did you ever do anything like I've heard about thank you cards, email thank you? Did you guys ever do any like going out of your way to send client stuff post issue when they get their stuff in the mail? Or are you just kind of like, hey, call me if you need something? Did you guys do anything for that?
I did, but I didn't. It was my assistant. So what I would do is like, you keep track of every single one of your appointments, all your clients, all your policy information. And what I would do once you got to the point where we had an assistant, I would have them literally just send out thank you notes. It was just kind of like we had done, like it was like a picture of me and Josh. It was like our family picture, our dogs, and we would send it to clients as cheesy as it is, but like those clients still call me. They would receive my little letter in the mail, and it's like that's where the ones that I got a lot of referrals from. Like I would literally still this day, I get called up from clients and it's like, hey, you helped my mom, or hey, you helped my aunt. We saw your letter at their house, your little postcard. Can you help us also with our insurance? So that's something. Is it necessary? No, but is it gonna help? I feel like it does, because it's really hard sometimes for on both parties to remember, like once you get to a point and you do this a lot, it's kind of hard to keep manage of your book of business. You can put them into the CRMs that automatically text them. Like now it's just so much more, there's so much more technology that to help make your life easier. But those are just kind of some things that I would do. I would make sure after all of our appointments that my clients had my number saved, whether it was a phone appointment or it was in person. If I was there, I would help them. I would actually take pictures of my clients and then I would help them save it in their contacts. So anytime it just was like Alondra, insurance agent, and it was a picture of me with them in their phones. So I would go that extra mile. I would text them to make sure, hey, so that they have it. They would also get the picture instead. And also, like for my virtual clients, I do same thing. Like I text them, hey, save my contacts, make sure you can. But that's where having that, especially with virtual, if you do have your assistant that it can do that, it does go a long way. I have people that on our team that send out like Starbucks gift cards to their clients, who send them a bunch of just referrals, and it works. Like it all kind of works a little bit. The way you got to see it is, how do you make yourself different from another insurance agent? Kind of what does it special? During the holidays, I would love to take them pies. We had a Marie calendars, and I would take my close by, like that were in the area. I'd go take them pies, and guess what? I'd get a bunch of referrals. I don't know why, but that's just it. You're making yourself different from other agents.
Well, and the referrals piece, I think, especially thinking about if you're, I mean, really in your first like 3 to 6 months, like you're in it. I mean, that's the hardest your business is ever going to be, those first 3 to 6 months, and really your first year, because there's so much that you're trying to learn, from like closing to persistency, all that stuff. So I almost always forget to ask for referrals at the end of my appointment. So what better time than when you're sending them a thank you card to make sure that, did you receive it? Okay, awesome. Do you have anyone else I can help? You're literally opening up your book for just net profit referral sales. That's even more important when you're getting rolling your first like 6 to 12 months than it would be for, maybe us being this far into the business. Like those extra 1,000 to 2,000, I mean, that can be your huge swing for your month. So it's never weird to ask. Again, you already helped them. If they didn't like you, they probably wouldn't have said yes. And you're just like, hey, all good either way. But if you know anyone that can use some help, there's no bigger compliment than you like referring me out to them. Would love to connect with them, and it would be the same exact process. Just see how I can help. So I like that because I do forget relentlessly to ask for referrals out of the gate. So that's like the back half ask. 6 to 12 months, do you guys do reviews or anything like that?
Yeah, so like clockwork, we could go through our Google Calendar and literally on the 12-month mark with our clients, it's calling them, hey, let's go ahead and do an annual review. Let's make sure all your policies are currently up to date, everything's updated, beneficiaries updated, and make sure that there's no discrepancy in coverage that we might have missed, or make sure that there's nothing better given your health situations, if there's a better plan that we can add more coverage to. And those are, again, quick appointments, and a lot of the times you're able to find 401ks that way, roll them into an annuity. It's just discretionary things that now they trust you. Maybe they opened up more and they're disclosing a lot more than they initially had.
And I think it just says a lot about you too when you call like, hey, just wanted to check in. I don't even know if you remember me. I was East End, blah blah blah, or whatever your pitch would be. But just like, I just wanted to follow up, make sure you didn't have any additional questions because I know that I helped you. And then I think the secret would be is this is why I would save all of the beneficiaries in your phone so that when you go to call them for your reviews when they're up, you can go, hey, just wanted to call and check in on you and Mary. How's your daughter doing? Whoever that person is, and you have that in the notes of your phone, that can also help build credit. Like, I remember you, even if you had to cheat and look early. But little tiny things like that can be a big impact on your month, especially like if you have, oh, I had a weird chargeback week, or I'm not selling as much this month, and you pick up 1 or 2 referrals, like that could get you back to neutral. So don't ever forget about that. When you're starting, like, and maybe it would be different now. So you had some connections in the insurance industry of some kind prior, since you were at another company for a brief stint. Would you do anything different now with how we're like able to recruit and run this thing virtually, have virtual office type setups? Or what are you guys doing now as opposed to what you did when you started to continue to build your group?
So honestly, Easton, we were just talking about this. What our agency has been doing that is still working is just that we're getting a lot of war market recruits where it's just the people that we know and it's like who they know. And we kind of like skewed away. We went from doing war market to going to cold market, and now we're back to war market because what we've seen is it's the most effective. Typically, people in your war market are people that you trust, they've been watching you, they know and that what you're doing, they know that you're in insurance. And a lot of the times it's like, especially now, it is so hard and life is so expensive that you'd be shocked how many people are looking for a second source of income. They've, especially if you guys have been doing this for a while, and you've been posting about it. And that was kind of our thing that we were always really big on. It's like we always wanted the people to know that we were in insurance. Maybe we weren't going to reach out directly, but one thing about my page, if you went on my page, you would know that, hey, she is still doing that insurance thing. She is still doing really well. She is able to do these things because of insurance. So it's made just recruiting so much easier because a lot of the times I caught myself just in normal conversations. I mean, still to this day, anywhere I go, it's just a topic of, well, what do you do? And then you start talking to people and they're like, well, I'm looking for a way to make extra money. I can't believe you were able to do what you've done because of insurance. Like, I'm going to get my license. And that's what we've seen basically our entire agency is doing, just the people around, the people that we have agents kind of everywhere. And one thing is they're all very good at opening up their own offices. So they're not waiting for their upline or somebody to set up an office. Everybody's kind of taking charge and they're owning their own business. They're, getting an office, and then they're plugging the people that they know in their areas that typically live. So it's like they have a place to go if their schedule, or lifestyle allows them to be able to go to a nearby office and bring more people in. Because guys, if you look back, that's one thing, like at my other company, what they do really good at is getting plugged people in, right? It's not all kind of virtual. They all kind of plug into an office and they still have so many people coming in. So we were like, why are we trying to reinvent something? We already know this works. And that's what's been working a lot for our team. One of our guys just hired like 50 people in a week. And it was just like, they're hiring the people that they know. Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know that could benefit from this opportunity? And getting them plugged into an office, you're getting them plugged into Events. You're taking advantage. If you don't have an office, it's taking advantage of these events that we just saw from Easton, guys. Like, there is no easier way to sell this opportunity than getting them around, getting people that that could benefit from this opportunity, listening from other people that are doing really well in the business. I know for me myself, me and Josh, our business completely changed when we went to these events because it solidified it. It made it more real. It's not just, oh, you can make this kind of money. So and so is making it. It's basically everybody's doing really, really well. They're all very successful. They're all from different walks of life. And nothing's going to like make this more real than listening to other people's experiences. You'll start soon realize that maybe somebody that you brought onto the business can relate or connect to somebody's story that they're listening to from these events. So that is like the biggest thing that I could like leave you guys with. If you're wanting to grow an agency, really take advantage of your warm marketing, because you'd be shocked how many people are struggling and maybe aren't talking about it, are looking for a second source of income. And like, what better opportunity than this? I see like everywhere you look on social media, guys, it's inevitable. Everybody's like starting some sort of network marketing. They're selling products that pays them terrible for the amount of work that they're promoting and pushing. And I'm always like, okay, people are still signing up to that to earn basically pennies. Imagine if they put that same effort into getting an insurance license, calling leads, they get to work from home, still promote the same lifestyle that they're promoting, but now they own their business and they're making actual money compared to just receiving pennies and depending on other people to sell, if that makes sense. So that is like the biggest thing that we've been just taking advantage of, is just being more loud and talking to literally everybody everywhere you go. When you go to the restaurants, it's talking to your servers. If you're getting an Uber, talking to your Uber. All that stuff works. And a lot of the people from all over FFL, everybody kind of came from somewhere. And that's just something super cool to see, that it's like, had somebody not shared that opportunity with them, who knows where their life would have been? Who knows what their future would look like had they not got started with insurance?
Dude, that's why I loved events early, because you get to go meet some of the people that have really excelled. And you're like, if all these stupid people can figure out how to make money, I'm going to be totally good. Like, that's what I like the most. I'm like, there's no scenario that this person is doing this well. And they're like, yeah, I promise. And then you meet them, they're extremely uncomfortable to be around. They're awkward. They're not socially, like, I will tell that story about Zach every single time, because when I first met him, I was like, I don't know if this guy's got some kind of deranged order thing going on. I'm not really sure. He's really awkward to be around, not very talkative. And he was just uncomfortable in social settings early. Obviously, now he's like, a little bit more refined professional. But I couldn't believe that this was like this Hall of Fame producer guy that people were talking about when I met him. And so I started going to, obviously that I was 2 weeks in when I flew out to NC to meet him. And then I go to convention for the first time. And we had this big thing in Atlanta before that. I'm like, wow, there's all these people that are just normal idiots that learned this specific skill set, how to say a handful of paragraphs in a certain order to get a yes. And then they get paid by doing that. I'm like, this seems very scalable for dumb people. So I'm 100% in, because it's just like work and effort based. And then the skills come with the work and the effort, which, I know that not everyone on our team is dumb. I'm not aiming at you guys. That was me specifically. That's what I was excited about, is like this. I finally found a home. You guys take dumb people, please pick me. I'm super down to be on your team. I'll just work a lot, I promise. So I love the event stuff, and talking about recruiting people that you meet. Going to, the gym early. There's obviously a bunch of other people in here with mental problems because they're in here at 4. That's a perfect place to talk to other people about what you're doing. Like, hey, what's wrong with you that you're in here at 4 a.m.? Like, you seem like we're definitely similar in some capacity. Good servers. If you go to restaurants, people who drive Uber. Jermaine built a team doing 450 a month, and he met Mike Killamet in an Uber, and his team's doing 450. So like, you have no idea who's looking or what they're capable of doing if you don't ask. Brian Adams was found in a clothing store folding shirts, and he built a $25 billion company. Why would you miss out on having him on your team? And that is something that I will bring up also as much as I can, because imagine not recruiting Brian because you were uncomfortable, and then somebody else gets him, and now they've got someone in their team that built a $20 billion+ company. seems like a good person that I would like on my team, actually. So, Alondra, thank you so much for taking time out to get on with us. Obviously, you're insanely good at what you do, so I appreciate all the feedback. Posting on social media, recruiting everybody that you talk to, developing your skill set, coming from a place of empathy, meets compassion, meets direction. Like that's literally how you became so good at selling. I love that you were an ex-nurse, not intentionally targeted. I didn't even know that about you, actually, that you were nursing before. So that'll probably ring familiar to some of the people in our group. So that's awesome. Any last things you want to leave with us before I let you go today?
Yeah, I mean, guys, honestly, just the biggest thing that I could tell you guys is just take advantage. And I know you guys know how awesome Easton is, but you guys could not be in better hands. And what I love about this company is that everybody here is willing to help. Like it's not nobody is competitive against each other. It's like everybody wants to see each other win. And you guys are literally working with the absolute best. And literally put your head down, guys, and go to work for the next 12 months and see where you're going to be at. I promise you, there is nothing more rewarding than being able to look back and see everything that you guys were able to accomplish. This business is simple. Don't overcomplicate it. And honestly, like take it day by day. Cause I don't know what was hard for me sometimes is I was always like so anxious to get to the next step that I never really enjoyed the journey. Like, take some time to literally reflect on where you guys are at, whether you guys just started or you've been here for a while. Like, be proud of yourselves because this is hard work. Like, this is, even though this job is simple, it is mentally it's like a mentally challenging career because nobody's telling you to go to work. Like, this is all coming from within. It's all self. So, I'm blessed to be able to come on here, Easton. You guys are great. I love just watching your guys's all your top producers absolutely crush it, guys. You're in better, no better hands, and I'm just so happy I was able to come on and share with you guys.
Thank you so much. I'm supposed to be buttering you up, so thank you for that. Unnecessary. So thank you again, Alondra. I will see you in a week-ish, right? Are you going to be there?
No, no, I'm not
Okay,
going.
I'll
I'm
see
not
you
going to
at
be at this one.
convention.
Yeah, we already did this
Okay.
one. Yes, but I will be at convention. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll see you in a couple months, and then thanks so much for getting on. And then, guys, I'll see you next Monday at the same time.